Hello, hello, hello. Welcome again to Remove Logic. I'm your host, Karen Ray Lacey, and I'm so grateful yet again for another week to share with you Remove Logic as well as to share the Remove Logic community with you. If you're new to Remove Logic, I want to invite you to go to our YouTube channel and check out Remove Logic so you'll know what Karen Ray Lacey is all about and what Remove Logic is all about. Remove Logic, where we challenge the systems. We challenge thinking and limitations that try to box people in. This is Remove Logic, where we choose clarity over confusion, truth over comfort, and alignment over approval. We don't move by noise, we move by discernment. So I want to say to you, thank you so much, as I always do, that you join me again tonight on Remove Logic. When I say to you, I'm grateful. You could be doing anything anywhere else and thinking about anybody else, but I thank you so much for spending time with me as you do every week. I want to say to you, happy March. We are in a new month in 2026, March 2026. We know that it has come in marching with a boldness, but we are grateful to God that we are here showing up ever ready and ever faithful to whatever it is that he desires of us here on Remove Logic as well as in life. Remove Logic, where we believe that God is not bound by logic or logistics. When I say that, we believe that God is able to do exceedingly and abundantly above all that he could ask, think, we could ask, think, or even imagine, according to the power that is at work within us. So I want to say to you that it is his power that is at work within us, but we still have to do our part in believing as well as acting in that power. So Remove Logic is about releasing and unboxing God, taking the logic away that binds us and puts us in boxes that God did not put us in, frames of mind that God did not give us. And so I want to encourage you as you join me on this journey of removing logic, that you unbox God and allow him to be as big as he is, as grand as he is, and as great as he is in you and through you. Remove logic. We are living in a time where information is everywhere. As you see, I say here, discernment versus AI. Artificial intelligence can answer questions in seconds. Social media has millions and millions of opinions everywhere, every day, every hour, every second. But here's the problem. Information is everywhere, but discernment is rare. And so tonight on this episode of Remove Logic, I want to say to you that discernment is the new intelligence. I believe that whatever we do, we definitely need to seek God. We need to hear God, and we need to move according to his will. I believe that we are in an era where discernment is so necessary, that discernment is the new intelligence. Yes, we have AI. It is fun to create those little caricatures. It's great to be able to expand the vision based upon the artificial intelligence. But I want to remind you that discernment is necessary. Information is everywhere, but discernment is rare. And the truth is, the people who thrive in this next era are not the ones who have the most information. They are the ones who have the most discernment. Today, we're going to be talking about discernment and why it is the new intelligence. It's very important that we see God on anything that we do. But again, information does not equal wisdom. We are drowning in data right now, but we are starving for wisdom. AI can give answers, but it is not, and it cannot give spiritual clarity. Before making a decision, ask the question, is this aligned with my purpose? Is this peaceful or pressured? Is this wisdom or just information? Scripture, James 1:5, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God. I want to encourage you in this season. It is imperative that we seek God for discernment. We are a generation that mistakes access for understanding. Just because you can Google it doesn't mean you can govern it. Just because AI can generate it doesn't mean that heaven has endorsed it. The impact of discernment and how it impacts us as individuals, how it impacts us as families, and how it impacts us as society. These are the three things I want to approach tonight on Remove Logic. Discernment versus AI. When you consume information without discernment, you become anxious and not aware. You feel productive, but remain confused. You collect facts, but never form convictions. You start outsourcing your decision making to what makes sense instead of what is true. You live in a reaction mode, and reaction is not leadership. How does the lack of discernment impact the family? Families break down when everyone has opinions, but no one has wisdom. Parents lead from fear and not from clarity. It's important that we stop, seek God, ask him, God, what would you have me to do in this season? Parents lead from fear and not clarity. People argue from facts, and we are seeing that on a daily basis here in the United States. It is within our communities, within families. We are seeing it within churches, we are arguing facts, but don't know how to protect the unity that is needed for us to survive as a society, as a world at large. We are so unified that we don't have the unity in this season. And discernment gives us unity. It can create a sense of unity. Where am I supposed to connect? What am I supposed to stand on? What am I supposed to believe and agree on in this season? It's very important that we truly seek God. Information without wisdom creates conflict, not cohesion. Miscommunication, not connection, but control, not covering. Discernment in families looks like this. I hear you, but I also know what season we're in. I know what we're building. I know what we're protecting. Discernment within the family gives you clarity on how to lead, how to listen, and know what the others in the family, how they're feeling. It gives us a wisdom and a strategy to navigate this season that we're in, where we are in an information overload. The impact of discernment on society. Society is experiencing a knowledge inflation. Everyone is informed. Few are stable, but fewer are wise. We have stability, but we don't have wisdom. So with that, the few being stable, we also have a great instability in society at large as well. That's why we see so many extremes. We see outrage, culture, hyper judgment, identity confusion, people choosing right now over what's right. Wisdom builds people. Information can just stimulate us, but we also have to have wisdom with the information that we gain. Information can educate us, but only wisdom can stabilize you. It is so important that we truly understand where we are in this season and how information does not equal wisdom. Discernment gives us wisdom. It gives us those strategies to navigate, the wisdom how to stop when we need to stop, to go forward, what the plan of action might be, how to move around when there is an issue. As we are seeing so much going on now, and it just seems to be lack of wisdom and lack of discernment. Noise is the enemy of discernment. We are living in a time when noise is loud. Your mind cannot hear clarity in constant noise. You don't have the clarity when noise is always coming at you. Social media, news cycles, opinions, as I said, are everywhere. But discernment requires stillness. Create a quiet decision space where you can get along and go along and talk to God, get alone and just have that moment where you sit and listen and discern the season, discern the moment that you might be in. But those quiet decision spaces are necessary before making major choices. Scripture, Psalm 46:10, be still and know that I am God. Noise doesn't just distract you. Noise interrupts your ability to recognize God's voice and your own inner knowing. Noise is not neutral, it's a weapon. The impact of noise on the individual. Noise creates decision fatigue, emotional instability, comparison spirals, where you're hearing something and you start to compare yourself and you start to spiral, thinking that maybe you're not enough, or I'm in the wrong place at the wrong time, or should I be doing this? You start to compare your life to others' life, compare your decisions to others' decisions. Then you move into impulsive choices. Noise trains you to chase trends or trending ideas, social validation, to seek quick dopamine moments, external confirmations. Noise teaches us to chase or will take you down a rabbit trail, a rabbit hole, so to speak. The noise also causes us to consume more. When I'm listening, I'm consuming information, looking at videos over and over again, and you're consuming that time that you could be using in another space. And I know that I'm guilty of that. I usually say that the television is just noise, when I probably should be sitting quietly while I'm working, thinking, reading, whatever. I have that TV on and it is noise. And it is actually, I don't know what type of distraction that it is, because I'm still doing what I'm doing, but probably could be doing it better, but it's noise. The less you trust yourself, the more noise you hear, the less you trust your decisions, the less you trust that time alone, that time with God. You start to second guessing what you already know. So noise has an impact on us individually, but it also has an impact on the family. Noise turns households into busy places instead of safe places. Noise in the family, it's a high stimulation zone where you're like, okay, TV on in this room, TV on in that room. The game is going and communication is going on, but it's not the peace zones that we need when we're seeking discernment. It also creates disconnection, disconnected marriages, distracted parenting, emotionally unavailable. Homes where the noise is so loud, the families need a quiet place to begin that intimacy and build the trust that is needed to lead the family, to cause families to be unified. Noise makes families operate like strangers in the same house. I know that I've seen it. I'm guilty of it. You go to your room, you do your thing. I go to my room and I do my thing. And we're just listening to what we listen to. And how does noise impact society? A noisy society becomes easily manipulated. We are seeing that so much in this nation, and we're seeing it across the world. We're seeing it in communities within the states. A noisy society becomes easily manipulated, emotionally reactive, divided, and tribal. I remember during the time that Alex Preddy was killed in the streets. And I remember it caused all that information. It was coming that day and I was watching it. But again, it stirred me up emotionally. I was emotionally reactive to it. Good, bad, or indifferent. Yes, I had a feeling about it. But to see someone killed in the streets in broad daylight, then that also creates an emotional reaction. But the information coming to you manipulates your emotions. It manipulates your reaction. And I remember I made a post, a simple post, that I stand with Minnesota. And that post got over 6,000 views. It's still getting views. But however, I was blown away by the fact that it also created anger. And also, I was getting a barrage of people that were coming at me with animosity because I simply said I stand with Minnesota. I have a right to be moved by, with empathy, to say that I stand with them. But there were so many people that were antagonized by that post and the outrage that one post noise released into social media, and the noise that came at me because I had empathy for another human being and in a society, a community that was living under unrest at the time. Noise is how agendas spread. Noise is how propaganda works. Noise is how people lose the ability to think clearly, to not think with empathy, to not think with compassion, to not think with concern because of the noise that is being presented to us and all this information. We do need discernment. When society can't be still, it can't be wise. If you can't hear yourself, you won't hear God. Noise. We have got to put ourselves into some peace zones, some safe zones, some places where we can steal away and pray and hear. Create those areas in your home, in your workspace, whatever you need to do to quiet the noise. I believe that it is imperative that we do that in this season. Pressure reveals discernment. Pressure exposes whether we move from fear or clarity. Many people panic in pressure, but leaders discern in pressure. Pressure doesn't destroy identity, it reveals identity. Next time pressure comes, I want to invite you to ask the question, what is this situation revealing? What is it revealing about me? What is it revealing through me? How am I responding, my reaction to pressure? Scripture, Proverbs 3:5-6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Pressure doesn't create who you are. It reveals who you've become under pressure. Under pressure, our real beliefs show up. How does pressure impact the individual? It reveals who you truly trust, what you fear, what you value, and what you're still performing for. Pressure impacts the individual by revealing what you really trust or truly trust, what you fear, what you value, and what you are still performing for. Pressure exposes unhealed wounds, people pleasing thought processes, scarcity thinking, emotional triggers. Pressure moves us to expose what's in us or even what has not been dealt with. But here's the gift: pressure also exposes your power. You will find how your life is aligned or unaligned, how or misaligned. You will find what you tolerate and what you celebrate under pressure. What am I tolerating? Am I accepting? When, as an individual, this is how pressure impacts you. How does pressure impact the family at large? Pressure seasons hit family. It hits families hard. It can be finances, illness, job loss, transitions, grief, but it hits the family hard because it is a collective of how we all operate under pressure. One person's ability to operate in or inability to operate in pressure can affect the whole family at large. Some families unify in pressure, while others fracture. Pressure reveals whether the home is built on trust or tension, whether love is unconditional or covenant, whether leadership exists or everyone is just surviving. Pressure will expose that, we're just going through the motions in the home. We're just going along to get along, but there is no unity and there is no real focus on making it through as a collective. You do it your way and I do it my way. Pressure will expose how we are living. But discernment in the family, when there's discernment in the family, what pressure looks like is this: we won't panic. We will pray, we will plan, and we will pivot. So when you have discernment in the family and pressure comes, it comes, but it will cause us to unify. We won't break. We're going to pray. We're not going to panic. We're going to plan and we will pivot together. How does pressure impact this society? Pressure is creating in society right now two groups of people: people being refined into leadership or people being driven into despair. We are seeing people, even as March entered in and our nation went into war, we have seen where some people are in fear, some people are panicking, but we're also seeing leaders emerge in this season because they're thinking with discernment. They're not operating in fear or despair. Pressure reveals also weak systems in society. We are seeing systems within this nation, within the world, that are being exposed as weak systems, systems that we thought that we could count on. We're seeing those systems being challenged. We're seeing broken institutions. We're also seeing poor leadership in this season where there is pressure. We're seeing economic fragility as well within this nation. We're seeing where the Constitution is constantly challenged, things that we counted on to sustain us. But again, pressure will reveal leadership because some of us are rising as we are not waiting on them to come and save us, that we are positioning ourselves and our families with our skills and our talents. And so discernment is important in this season. That's why so many people feel like they are waking up. You're seeing the great awakening. You're hearing that over and over again. When I think about that word woke and how it was hijacked before this great awakening began to take place, that word woke became a negative thing within our society, that you're part of that woke generation. But I want to say to you, this pressure that we're under is causing a great awakening. So many people are waking up. They're not waking up randomly. Pressure is exposing the reality that we have gotten so comfortable in, a reality that is not a safe place, a reality that is challenged by weak systems, a reality that is exposing broken institutions and exposing poor leadership and where you put your trust. This is where we find ourselves with all the information that is coming to us. You definitely are going to have to sit in a place of discernment and seek God on how to move when systems that you counted on are no longer able to sustain what we have known for so long. Pressure is not your enemy. It's your audit. It will cause you to audit what you trust, audit what you believe, audit where you've put your trust, audit your skills and your talents to assess. Pressure, again, is not your enemy. It's your audit. It is your audit. Discernment protects destiny. It is so important that we understand that there are some things that God He's destined you to do. You have an assignment. And so we want to be able to sit and hear on how do I protect this assignment? How do I protect what it is that you've given me to steward over? Not every opportunity is an assignment. When you are living outside of discernment and moving in your own way and not trusting and leaning on God, you're leaning in your own understanding. We can take on opportunities that are not our assignment. Discernment protects destiny. Not every door is your door. Not every door is your door. I know that's uncomfortable because we're always praising and thanking God for an open door, but we've got to understand that not every door is my door. Discernment protects you from misaligned decisions. Before saying yes to anything, you have to ask, does this expand my calling or is it a distraction from my calling? Scripture reference here, 1 Corinthians 2:14. The person without the Spirit does not accept the things that come from the Spirit of God. You got to take a moment and get under His Spirit and ask the question, God, Lord, I want to hear from you. I said just last week when I talked about being burnout, I had something that, was moving me emotionally and I had to stop, just stop. And I said, Karen, stop. And I asked God, I said, God, I invite you into this situation that I will not be moved by my emotions and I will not be distracted. That I'm asking you to help me to navigate this new season of my life because this is a journey that I've never been on before. When I tell you just stopping for that moment gave me the peace that I needed to know that not everything that looks like a blessing is an assignment. Sometimes we can I call it that flying roach syndrome, where you just fly out like a flying roach and you causing havoc and touching everything that you should not touch. Some assignments that come your way is not your assignment. Some opportunities are traps in a paycheck. Every door that opens is not your door. You may be going in for money, but all money ain't good money. So some opportunities are traps with a paycheck attached to it. Discernment is how you avoid distractions. Discernment protects the destiny. When you consider an individual moving without discernment, you will overcommit. You will betray your own priorities. You would chase visibility over purpose. You would look and choose confusion or think in confusion and think that I am moving in a forward with progression, but it is just motion with no progress. You will end up with success that feels empty, money that costs you peace, and relationships that drain you. opportunities that will delay your destiny. Discernment protects our energy. And I want to go over these again because it's so important that we understand what discernment does. Discernment gives us the ability to not overcommit, that you won't betray your own priorities. You won't chase visibility over purpose, and you will not confuse motion with progress. When you operate without discernment, you end up in moments where you feel empty. You end up in moments where your money costs you peace. I chose this when I should not have done it. Relationships that will drain you and opportunities that will delay your destiny. Discernment protects your energy, your focus, and your identity, but most of all, your assignment. The impact of lack of discernment on the family. Misalignment does not just affect you, it affects your home, your household, your family, your marriage. Your marriage pays for it, your kids pay for it, your nervous system pays for it. You can become stressed, anxious, not seeing what God has promised, but you're operating in a misaligned state. And these things will affect you when you are not operating with discernment. Discernment helps families avoid constant instability, burnout cycles. It stops you from not being present to showing up. If you operate with discernment, you will show up for your family, not retreat or recoil and not be present. It creates homes. If you are a family that is operating in discernment, it will create a home where values are protected. Time is intentional and peace is prioritized. Discernment gives you a place where the values of the family are protected, and the time that you spend with your family is intentional. And the peace of your family becomes a priority. When we look at society as a whole without discernment, we see consumption driven communities, households, individuals, families. We see exploitative, addicted, more easily deceived households, individuals, and societies. Discernment is how people stop being used by systems. Discernment is how people stop being used by politics and politicians. Discernment is how people stop being used by marketing, where you are sitting and watching. And discernment, if you have discernment, you'll know I can do without that. I don't have to spend my money on that. I have 2 or 3 and I don't need to buy another one. Discernment is how people stop being used by culture wars, where they pit one culture against another culture. Discernment says to you to stop and see yourself in that person, to stop and pray for that person rather than rising up against them, culture wars. Discernment is how people stop being used by fear narratives. We're seeing so many fear narratives and fear mongering in this season because all of the information that's coming, but you can become overwhelmed by this information and overstimulated by it and start to move in fear narratives. But discernment isn't just spiritual. It is strategic. It gives you the strategy to navigate the landscape of too much information and information inflation, knowledge inflation, and information overload. Discernment is a strategy. It's strategic. The future belongs to the discerned. What am I saying to you here? AI will replace tasks. We have seen it where AI has taken away the grocery store clerk, and now you have self-checkout. That's AI. So it's done away with some jobs for certain individuals and certain industries. But AI will replace tasks, but it will never replace intuition. The future belongs to the discerned. It will never replace wisdom. It will never replace spiritual insight, and it will never replace your calling. Discernment will become the valuable leadership skill in the decade. Develop daily habits that sharpen discernment, because it is going to be one of the most valuable skills in the next decade or the years to come. Find those places of prayer and the places of reflection, the places where you can journal and have a quiet thinking moment, and allow God to speak to you. Allow yourself to discern the season that we're in or that you're in. Hebrews 5:14. But solid food is for the mature, who by constant use have trained themselves to distinguish good from evil. It is so important in this season that you have the discernment to know and distinguish good from evil. We are living in a time where lies are loud, and I've been talking about this for a while, and the noise is so loud, it's a distraction. That truth just kind of sits over in the corner. Good has now become what we look away from, because people challenge you, just as I said, to put that post out and say that I stand with Minnesota. It was good because I had the empathy to stand with this community that was in upheaval, but it was counted to me as evil. And people were just coming with so much negativity from just standing to say, I stand in empathy, where this community and the loss, this family has suffered loss, and from Alex Preddy and Renee Good, to understand that, Lord, I empathize with them, to help, to say a prayer that you would comfort them in this time of loss, but that though now good is counted as evil and evil is counted as good. If you don't have discernment, again, it will cause you to not trust yourself. AI will expand capability. We have seen that. We've seen it from the cute little caricatures. I use AI on a daily basis for Remove Logic, for content, for branding, and all the things that I do. But discernment will determine direction. AI will expand capability, and it does. But discernment will determine direction. Capability without discernment is dangerous. How does this impact individuals? Impact on the individual in the next era, you're going to see that skills matter, yes, but direction matters more. Discernment will separate busy people from people that are building. It's going to expose noisy people from leaders. It's going to show performers over pioneers. Discernment will be the difference between making money and making meaning, growing a brand or growing a legacy. How is this discernment going to impact the family? Discerned families will choose stability over trends. They will choose peace over appearance. They will choose truth over comfort. They will teach their children identity, values, emotional regulation, and spiritual grounding. These families will become rare. Information is everywhere, but discernment is rare. These families will be powerful in our society. And how is discernment going to impact our society? Discernment will be the new currency. Leaders who can see clearly, communities that can stay unified and stand against the powers that be, too much information, fear narratives, and all the things that are given out. Remember, noise is a way to release propaganda. So when you are in a discerning space, discernment will be the new currency. Communities will be able to stay unified. Entrepreneurs who can build will build ethically based upon discernment. People who can resist manipulation are those that will have discernment. A discerned society becomes less reactive, more principled, and harder to divide. And that's not just society, that's the family at large. Your family with discernment becomes harder to divide. You become more resilient. The future won't belong to the loudest person. It will belong to the person that has clarity, the clearest, the one that has discernment. If you feel overwhelmed by the noise of this world, that's not weakness, that's awareness. The world is moving faster, but clarity doesn't come from speed. It comes from discernment. Clarity does not come from moving fast. It comes from discernment. When you learn to move with discernment, you stop chasing information and start walking in alignment. And that is how we here on Remove Logic, we live by that, removing logic. God is not bound by logic or logistics. So with all the information that is coming and we begin to lean on our own understanding, then that logic that is even sometimes fed to us as information, it becomes what we stand on. Information is everywhere, but discernment is rare. And the people who learn to move with clarity in the midst of all of this chaos and all this knowledge inflation and all the information are the ones who are going to lead the future. I want you again to ask yourself, is this part of my assignment or is this a distraction? That you invite God into your situation and you ask for discernment. You ask for those divine strategies, divine helpers. You ask God to give you how to move. Am I to be still in this season and pray, or am I to move in a strategy or a wisdom that you've given me? Just because AI has given you that information does not mean that heaven has endorsed it. And my closing declaration to you, I want you to choose clarity over confusion, truth over comfort, and alignment over approval. When I consider where we are, and again, I say to you that the future belongs to the discerned. Those that hear and hear clearly are going to arise as leaders in this next era. We've got to turn our ears to God and allow him to speak to us. Lift up our eyes to the hills from whence cometh our help, for our help comes from the Lord. I want to encourage you that you seek to hear God and seek discernment versus AI. I lead a group of people, and I was saying to them the other day, don't forget your message. Because yes, we are using AI. Yes, we are doing all the cute caricatures and it is giving us the information that we need. But discernment will be the new currency in this next era. You're going to see leaders that are hearing God, moving by the will of God and moving in formation. We're going to see people that are entrepreneurs that are going to build ethically. They're going to build what God has given them to build because it's going to be something that's going to sustain others. People who can resist being manipulated by politics, being manipulated by fear. We've got to put ourselves in position. And how do we do that? By prayer. How do we do that? By sitting in those quiet zones and those quiet places. How do we do that? In reflection. How do we do that? By journaling, write the vision down. How do we do that? That, Lord, you gave me a word, and now I'm asking you now to guide me in that word. And then sitting in those quiet places. AI will replace tasks. We've seen that, but it will never replace intuition. It will never replace wisdom and spiritual insight or your calling. We've got to stay aligned in this season. The most valuable leadership skills for us is discernment in this season. So again, choose clarity over confusion, truth over comfort, alignment over approval. That's how we live, and that's how we lead. That's how we remove logic. I want to say to you again, thank you so much for joining me for another power-packed episode. I love, 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 absolutely love this time with you every week. And I pray that you are getting something from what God has given me to give out in this season. Again, seek discernment. Discernment versus AI. It is imperative that we take the time to hear from God in this season and arise as the remnant. So thank you so much for joining me on Remove Logic. I will see you again next week if God says the same place, same time, and same channel. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, and I look forward to talking to you next week. Have a good evening.